Hello there, my name is Ed Mansell-Lewis. I'm here at Simpson's Wine Estate with Patrick McGrath and with Charles Simpson. Patrick, you're CEO of Hatch Mansfield and Managing Director of Domaine Evremond, and you're part of this Wine Garden of England. Tell me a bit more about what Wine Garden of England is.
So the Wine Garden in England was set up in 2016, I think it was 2017 actually. It actually sort of came out of when we first planted Domaine Evremond. We asked all the significant wineries in Kent to come to the planting, because we had a lot of press there. It was a very sort of good news story for Kent. And out of it came, we realised there were a bunch of people that liked and respected each other from the key wineries in Kent, and we decided to let's work together to promote tourism and wine tourism in Kent.
Yeah. And Charles, you're co-founder of Simpson's Wine Estate, a member of one of the 8 vineyards in the Wine Garden of England. What does the Wine Garden of England do for your business?
Well, so I guess going back to 2017 when we first had the first meeting, I think it was actually in Chapel Down at their restaurant there. You know, we were relatively new back to the UK, so we were the young guys. I guess been able to ask all the silly questions, and we were surrounded by people who had a lot more experience, like the Chapel Downs, the Gusbourne, with tourism in Kent. And I remember that first meeting at Chapel Down, where we threw all of these ideas out there in terms of things that we could collectively work on, and the one that kept on gravitating to the top was tourism. And with I guess the old adage is we should get people into Kent and then we should fight over them. And the old adage, I guess, where when the tide comes in, all the boats float. So being early on in I guess building our cellar door and wine tourism, we had a lot of experience to learn and garner for some of the people that were doing it better than we were, or for longer than we had been doing.
Yeah. And you've long been involved with some of the famous sort of French sparkling wine houses like Taittinger. I think this collaborative ethos exists in France, doesn't it?
It does, actually. I see it very strongly in France. I also actually see it in New Zealand. We look after one of the biggest brands, Villa Maria, in the UK. And actually, probably for me, the New Zealand wine industry is the best example of particularly premium wineries all working together for the benefit of brand New Zealand, helping to bring tourism to a place like Moora and Hawke's Bay, but really collective, realising Charles's point that everybody helps each other. Still commercial rivals, but sharing experiences and the common goal of educating the consumer and introducing the consumer to premium wines, whether it's from New Zealand or whether English sparkling.
And England is the newest sort of new world wine region, isn't it? And so I suppose reflecting on what New Zealand have done probably was a really useful way on reflecting on how it could be done in Kent.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think the most important thing is actually the New Zealanders, they're great people, they have a real quarter spirit between them. And they're rivals, but they're mates. And that's exactly what we got with the Wine Garden of England. We're all good friends, we see a common goal. Of course, individually, everybody's trying to sell their own wines, but not against each other. It's for the common good. And that's where I have a real strong affinity with what the Kiwis have done to what we hope we can do with the Wine Garden of England.
And just adding to that, I think what's wonderful about being in what I would describe as the most exciting viticultural place on the planet is it is a little bit, of the wild, wild west. It's meaning there's not a lot of structure there, and therefore we're able to build that structure. But there's also so much interest in this rising star that is English wine. So we're at this early stage. We're not competitors, and then there's enough business for everyone, and that's why working collaboratively is the obvious choice.
Why do you think that the UK wine industry is booming now? I mean, we've had chalk in the ground since Adam was a boy.
I think the 2003, probably the climatic year, was a sea change. There were some really good wines before that, but I think when we all talk about the horrors of climate change, and indeed they are, but there's no doubt that the English viticulture industry is probably on the benefit side at the moment. I think the trend of warmer summers post 2003 put more focus on, more people started to plant vineyards. I think a lot of people started to look around the other parts of the world in relatively coolish areas where vineyards have gone in. And therefore we saw a raft of people like Charles, who've got great expertise down in the south of France, actually thinking, well, actually I can make equally good wines of different style up here in Kent. And that started the sort of tractor going. But actually, the reason the industry is booming is that there's some really, really good wines being made. The consumer trying them, they're often trying them for the first time and saying, wow, I'm so impressed by my Roman Road Chardonnay or Chapel Down or Balfour, whatever it may be, Bitterdon. And they're coming back for more and more. So it's actually, whereas 50 years ago, the English wine industry was a bit of a joke, now the knowledgeable consumer and even the sort of exploring consumer is actually tasting English sparkling wine, English still wine, and thinking, wow, this stuff is great.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure to be with you both today at Simpson's Wine Estate. It's the first Wine Garden of England meeting I've attended. I've really enjoyed it. Just a bit of a tester for you both. Can you name all of the 8 vineyards and wine businesses within the Wine Garden of England?
Probably easier
Domaine Evermont.
Yeah. But probably easier to do it by alphabetical. Start with the B. So you've got Balfour and Bitterdon.
Yeah.
Chapel Down.
Chapel Down.
D.
Drain Evermont.
That's a year too long.
Too long.
Hussey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Balfour. Yeah.
Balfour. Yeah.
Okay. G.
Gusmore.
Yeah, very good.
Squaries.
Squaries.
Simpsons.
And W.
Westwell. Yeah.
All 8.
Yeah. And then it's a very strong partnership that's born out of friendship, but a common goal for a love of Kent and for a common aspiration for what we believe we can do together to bring wine tourists to Kent and tell the story of the great wines that are coming from the Wine Garden of England.
Wonderful. Well, Patrick McGrath from Domaine Evermont and Charles Simpson from Simpson's Wine Estate. It's been a pleasure.